Into the ropes and off. A flying tackle by and a drop kick.
10 pounds of pure gold.
Got to hold this just a minute. You want a little bit more?
I'm a real heavyweight champion.
Gotta be the best of me. More to me than anything I've ever done in wrestling.
They call this the 10 pounds of gold championship. As existed in the
That canvas pretty hard, and look at Buddy go to work now. Oh!
Hey everybody, it's Durger time. Welcome back to another episode of Total Extreme Wrestling 2020, Billy Corgan's NWA. We had a pretty good pay-per-view last week here. Unfortunately, Sasha Banks is super upset. Holy crap, she is furious over everything that happened there. I would not be shocked if she is gone by the end of this episode. Maybe we'll have to put someone over her once again just to really have her burn out. The big focus this week, obviously we're going to have an episode of Power, but the big one is that we're going to be starting our tournament. Our tournament function, we're going to have a 16-man tournament for the Crockett Cup. It's the first time, well, we sort of did the Crockett Cup really early in the series, but we're doing it for real, for tag teams. And the big thing with this one, we're going to do a little bit different. We're going to do 16 teams, none of which are current NWA roster members. The reason why is that in addition to the Crockett Cup this year, not only will the winners win the Crockett Cup, but they will also get a contract with the NWA. And they will get a title shot at the next pay-per-view. So, pretty big deal. Doesn't mean that everybody that's on the tournament couldn't join the NWA as well, but they basically will get a contract signing, big deal, and get a their own shot right at the tag team titles. So, because of this, no NWA member will be in the tournament. So it's going to be kind of cool to have just 16 random ones. I have everybody scouted already. I have a big old decisions list that I can show you in a little bit after we get everything settled. But for the most part, we've picked through a mixture of people from our various alliance members, because obviously we do have our alliance with Impact, Major League Wrestling, AEW, and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I actually couldn't pick anybody from Impact, and the reason why is because they run the show at the same night. So if I were to take anybody from Impact, they would never be on the tournament. So big bummer there. Just simply logistically, because there would be some people, like I kind of wanted Rich Swann in the tournament, but it wasn't going to happen. Not a huge deal, and we end up scouting from other areas outside the alliance. So there's some names in there. There's some pretty crazy tag teams that I managed to pick up. Everybody is on a 3-month contract. I don't think it's going to take 3 months to run the tournament, but it gives us a pretty large amount of time to run the tournament, which I figure will take probably the whole month, if not a little bit longer, and then a pay-per-view afterwards. So it gives them time to kind of be in there and be involved. The winner, obviously, will get that contract and get a shot at the title. And maybe if people are really jiving with the audience, they will stay as well. So, pretty exciting. I'm pretty looking forward to that a lot. Momentum's still running strong. We still have a long way to go in order to get up to medium, though. We need to have a 59 in popularity. We are nowhere near that yet. We are 42. We'll get there, I think. And our financials, if we look after end of that pay-per-view, we did about 4,000 in pay-per-view revenue. It's not a lot, but it's more than what we were doing in our last save, where we were making like $0 on our broadcast revenue. So we're actually making a solid $28K a show. It doesn't mean we can start spending like crazy, but we are making money. I personally don't mind running performance at close to zero. Like, if our money comes in and comes out, that's fine to me. It's not a big deal. Now, we have Power tomorrow. So what we're going to do is we're going to run an episode of Power, though honestly it's going to probably be a little bit story light, because the big focus is going to be about the tag tournament going forward. But that doesn't mean there isn't going to be some storylines that we're going to be evolving. In fact, there's a bunch of storylines we kind of have to end and or not necessarily end, but move on from. and we will kind of move on from there. I think Colt Cabana's story is not done yet. Neither is Eli Drake and Eddie Kingston. I think we're just kind of starting for that. The Shoney storyline will continue. The 10 Pounds of Gold story is obviously heating up after Brian Pillman basically got it stolen from him, with Brody Lee winning. The Board of Directors story with Nick Aldis is kind of going to be turning into something else. The Von Erichs are still doing their thing, and obviously Sasha Banks' story is over, and it's going to be about Tessa and someone else that we'll have to kind of start to build up on. But we also have some other things going on. We have Miro, formerly Rusev, is in the building working with Billy Corgan. How is that going to play in? We got David Starr showing up. We don't know what his allegiances are, so we got a whole bunch of kind of things happening that we're going to have to start to play into that we'll start building tonight. So let's go ahead and let's sim on over to our next episode of Power and see how that goes. Okay, this is interesting. We do have Kimber Lee's getting a contract with Hollywood, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. That's fine. Tim Storm says he's going to be retiring from active competition in 3 months. I kind of want to talk to him, see if I can make him reconsider. Just because I love having Tim Storm on, because it upsets all of you. Not really, but I feel like if I can get him for a year or something, maybe we can work something out here. Can I get you to reconsider your upcoming retirement? I'm not willing to reconsider. So we have 3 months, and he'll be retiring, which is fine. Kind of a bummer, because I had some plans for him, but maybe I will expedite them a little bit. But in the long term, not that big of a deal, because we were going to transition him into a manager, and maybe what's your basics at 77? Psychology's not great there. He doesn't make a great trainer or a great road agent, because we do need an extra road agent, because we know from that last event that it was rough. We don't need one right now, but something else that we'll need to look into is finding a road agent that's relatively cheap that we can add in to alleviate the burden a little bit, because unfortunately it was just too much for one person to handle. It was something I forgot that they were adding to this. So definitely going to be a manager of some capacity. Maybe we can get them to be an occasional wrestler, but it does look like they are going to be going away. Quite unfortunate. All right, let's go ahead. We have our show tonight. Let's get into it. Like I said, we know what we're doing. Why are we in Full Sail? We don't want to be in Full Sail. We want to be in the NWA Arena. It should know that already. What are we expecting? We're expecting 414 fans, and it's not too bad for us. Our capacity for this venue is 850. This is the one that we made. It's only costing us $480. So not that bad, right? It's going to give us a little bit of wiggle room for a bit, and eventually when we have to grow out of it, it's a good problem to have, I think. All right, let's go back to our backstage, our locker room incidents here, see what is going on. Incident involving Colt Cabana was in fine form before the show, keeping everyone in a great mood with a hilarious road story. That's great. Boosted our backstage rating a little bit. I still wish it was on this screen so we can kind of see what we're actually working with for backstage rating. It's always weird to me that it's kind of not there anymore, especially considering it was such a focal point. We will medal, and why not try getting this a positive relationship? We have no real relationship set right now, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And like I said, I should say, I do like having like the here's what happened last week, but I just kind of wish that there was something else here. I don't know. Just kind of wish that we had the backstage ratings a little bit more visible. It's kind of hidden now, which is kind of a bummer, because I did like to see what was happening in the backstage. It's not as important, but it was nice to have. All right, so like I said, we can't really start the tournament, though we can talk about it in this Power episode, so we definitely will announce it. But we can't even announce the people yet, but we will announce the people hopefully this episode once everybody's signed in. But we do have some storylines that we can advance going forward. So let's go ahead and advance those, and I will catch you guys on the flip with a completed episode of Power. All right, guys, we are ready. Not a lot going on in this episode. I'm going to start to feel like we need to make Power a little bit longer, maybe an hour and a half, because it's starting to get a little too big story-wise for the amount of time that we have, especially with our requirements for having to put some matches in here. So we moved forward a little bit, but I didn't get nearly as much as I want in here. But let's go ahead and take a look and see where it stacks. So we start to show off with what I'm expecting to be Sasha Banks' last match in this company. She is furious after this scramble. We have Kimberly, Sasha, Ashley Vox, and Nicole Matthews. Kimberly defeats Sasha. We are trying to move Kimberly up in the roster as quickly as possible. And she defeats all of them in the scramble match by 10 minutes after getting the most falls. Ashley Vox was struggling to keep up. Kimberly's got a 42 in in-ring performance, so again, for relative, workmanship, she's now not doing about as bad as Sasha is. So I think it's the right call here. Sasha was off her game because she was upset, so Sasha would get more, but not by much. Did get to show off the strong start and got a 43. It's not bad. But I anticipate Sasha's going to walk out after this. Afterwards, we have Tessa Blanchard, the champion, staring down the winner from ringside, kind of identifying the future competitor that we're having here, though I don't know why it's struggling to go off script. I didn't think we scripted it, but apparently we did. So Tessa, we should know in the future, should probably avoid unscripted segments, though she's still benefiting for her flavor of the month. Gets us a 32. It's not a great segment, unfortunately. After that, we have a interview. Also not a great segment. It's 23. We have an interview of Flip, and, Flip talks to Joe Galli about how he thought he could get Colt Cabana back, and how he was shocked that he wasn't able to win the match, and he thinks he knows the problem, and he thinks it's because he has a numbers game, and he knows that Flip is not the most popular guy, and that he's not going to be able to just conjure a bunch of friends. There's no club for him to back him up, that he's all alone in this, and he thinks the only way he can do this is to just be persistent and to ever escalate the stakes. And so he says he's not done, he's not over with this, and he won't give up. So it sounds like Flip is still on the path to try to bring Colt Cabana back, and we don't really have heard much from Colt yet. And unfortunately, we don't this episode, but we certainly will soon, to kind of hear how the Colt has been treating Colt, and hear more from the Colt as well as it starts to grow. And so Flip's still persistent. Unfortunately, this segment is just not that great. Not sure what the negative was, unfortunately, but my guess is probably actually Joe Galli on the microphone, or maybe Flip, I don't know. We have a squash match with Rusev, aka Miro, or Miroslav. It's extremely short, 38 seconds. He gets a submission on a local jobber, Xander Jones. He had a 67, and the jobber had 17. Not very good. I still wish there was a way to accurately do squash matches where the in-ring performance of the jobber should not matter at all. But it got the crowd hotter, and the performance of Miroslav looked good. Got us a 44, which is pretty okay. Really happy with that 67, though. I think when we put him into action upwards into the card, it's going to be pretty good. What the hell was that? That was a weird Epic Games request. Okay, that was weird. Weird stuff just flashing on my screen. Afterwards, we have a microphone promo from David Starr, the most hated man in wrestling in some capacity, having joined the NWA. He gets a chance to speak about why he joined the NWA. And it's a rather fascinating one. And he says, you know, I'm not welcome in a lot of locker rooms anymore. And judging by the cold shoulders I've gotten the last couple days, I'm guessing I'm not welcome here too much either. Well, I'm here for a purpose. The NWA used to be the most important thing in wrestling. And I think one day it will be again. But right now, there is a sickness in the industry, in the world. While we wage slave our lives away to put our blood, sweat, and souls into the mat, these proletariat pigs get to reap the rewards. We get fed crumbs while they eat with silver spoons on the fruits of our labor. Corgan and Pinky George, they pretend that they're different, that one's good and one's evil. But really, they're cut from the same cloth. And I say it's time to light that cloth ablaze. That's why I'm going to take over this company from the bottom up. Not as an individual, but as a collective. I may just be one man. We may be small now, but soon others will rise and unite, and we will take that 10 pounds of gold away from this company, a symbol of slavery and suffering, and we will melt it down to ash. So, does pretty okay. 47. We get a little bit of insight at David Starr here. Still hard to say whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, but we have an idea that he's definitely looking to shake the status quo in the company and, you know, upset the entire balance of the company. Now, it's interesting that he's talking about himself as more than one person. He didn't come in with anybody, so you can only imagine that he's looking to maybe try to convince people to join his side. And it seems like he wants to strip the company of its symbols, burn it down, and make something new. So, you know, kind of interesting. I kind of wanted to play with the idea of a person that, you know, depending on your perspectives, could be a bad guy, could be a good guy. And I think David Starr really embodies that. He can be a character that you love to hate, or a character you hate to love. And I think we're going to play with that for a while. And this is definitely going to be a long-term story, so hang with us here. But for the most part, I'm really excited to kind of take it into some interesting directions of storytelling and see what the evolution of David Starr in the NWA is, and, you know, utilizing some of his real-world focuses in the NWA as sort of a springboard. I thought would be an interesting way to do it. It does pretty well, so let's go on and move on from here. We have a 3-way exhibition match between Cade and Yuta, the Ascension, and the former NWA Tag Team Champions, the Villains for Hire. Pretty decent reaction, subpar wrestling. The Villains for Hire defeat Cade, Yuta, and the Ascension in 8 minutes. It's pretty okay overall. It's a mixed bag in terms of performances, but we hung around 40, so the 40 segment seems about right. We gain a little bit of heat for the Von Erichs legacy. Obviously, the Von Erichs are now the champions, and seeing the former champions kind of dominating the current landscape pretty quickly sure puts a fire under them. And yeah, they do pretty good. Victor and Connor and PCO are obviously both excellent chemistry. Victor was off his game a little bit, but nothing really to cry about. I think this is a pretty good match. After that, we have Billy Corgan coming out to the commentator's desk, and he makes an announcement about the Crockett Cup, that it will return, and as we had talked about earlier in the show, it's going to be for a grand prize. The winner of the 16-team tournament, handpicked by Billy Corgan from all around the world, none of them established in the NWA, will all compete on the show, get to show the world their stuff and who they are. And the winner will get a NWA contract and a title opportunity for the NWA Tag Team Championship. He was about to go on for more, but unfortunately he gets interrupted as Marty Scurll and the Villains for Hire completely interrupt the interview, take over, and begin to harass him. They start citing their grievances, and they're upset some unknown tag team with to hop in line and get their shot at a title that they felt was stolen from them. And they vow to entirely ruin the division until they get their way. And to prove their point, they begin to attack and dismantle the announce table, scaring off Corgan and the announce team in the process as they just rip the table in half into shreds. We actually lose some heat for the Von Erichs that we gained, so that's unfortunate. And the segment is kind of underwhelming, unfortunately. PCO is a good menace, but Brody King was not, and I have a feeling that's probably where our weak link was. But what are you going to do? Thankfully, though, everybody loves a good Scott Steiner segment, and it was a simple one. We just have Scott Steiner having a Shoney's commercial on screen, bringing his Shoney's championship to his restaurant and showing off that he's still Shoney's champion, and then offering people, a $9.95 breakfast meal if you get there before 11 a.m. on Thursdays and Saturdays only. So the crowd loves it. 57. We let Steiner do what he does best, which is just ramble incoherently, and it's great. And obviously he's still, pretty hot on the Shoney's championship, and we don't know who's going to take it. Matt Cross was unsuccessful taking it from him. Obviously he's probably going to try to compete again, but maybe new faces will show up to try to take the Shoney's challenge. And in our main event, we have a triple threat match, and the weirdest triple threat match I think I've ever done. We have Brian Pillman Jr., the new NWA World's Heavyweight Champion Brody Lee, and Zicky Dice for some reason. It's a decent match, had good wrestling, good heat. Zicky Dice actually held his own pretty okay. But Brian Pillman actually wins by pinning Zicky Dice after 28 DDT. Brody Lee carried the match in terms of performance, but, Pillman gets the momentum. We do protect Brody Lee in the match, and then Zicky Dice is there to kind of take the fall. And afterwards, we have a big old brawl between Brody Lee and Pillman backstage. So obviously, Pillman is still quite upset that Brody Lee basically stole his title opportunity from him, and it seems like he is not going to give it up lying down. We do enhance the 10 pounds of gold storyline, and we finish the show off. I'm going to guess we're at about a 47, which would be great because I think that'll boost us up. 52, actually. The last couple segments doing very well for us. That's actually pretty good, though apparently not enough to give us any popularity changes, unfortunately. I thought we had to be just a few points higher than our home state, but I guess not. All right, and it looks like exactly what we thought. Sasha hands in her notice. She's got 28 days left. So we still have time to chop her out if we want to. We had a .03. It's actually not that bad for YouTube. So overall, not horrendous. Not horrendous at all, actually. And Sasha begs to leave. Yeah, she's we have some potential that she could actually hurt us leaving. So we could always just send her on her way if we want to. I'm trying to remember how to do that, but I think we can just say bye. There it is, release. We can just release her. It will not cost us anything. It'll be immediate. That'll just avoid getting the note. Now that we have the notice, I just don't want her to badmouth us necessarily while we are sitting her contract out. And I think we've done what we needed to do in terms of boosting momentum for her. I don't think we got there entirely in terms of popularity gain. Obviously, we were focusing on Kimberly. And we can certainly take a look. Maybe too early to notice. I'm not seeing much. Current popularity was Oh, actually, I think so, because she started at 8 all the way across, so she's at 17 already. So that's a pretty significant jump, I think. Nowhere near the popularities of Tessa Blanchard, though she did move up a little bit from 42 to 45. And Brian Pillman probably also saw a pretty decent jump. Maybe not that significant yet. Not that much, actually. A little bit. So I guess we did a little bit here and there, but overall it's still, popularity slow going. It is what it is. Though right now he has red hot momentum, and he finally is considered a major star, which was what we wanted. We wanted him to kind of be starting to become one of the faces of the company. We want to start to develop some of these women to be more than unimportant. I'm fine with star. They don't have to be major stars. The women's division on our company is not the main focus. And our talent pool is a little restrictive, but I would like, for example, Kimberly to be considered at least, known or recognizable or something like that. Well-known would be great, because generally right now our fans just don't seem to really care. Which is fine, but, it's not necessarily what we want. Now, we got to fast forward a few days, but we need to get our other tag teams in line. I have all the contracts out, so let's sim ahead real quick, and then I will give you the listings of who are going to be on our Crockett Cup tournament. Alright guys, we're ready to announce the Crockett Cup members for the tournament. We have 16 teams, and none of them are currently NWA members of the roster. Some of them are from our alliance, others are just from the independent scene, all of which have a chance to win a contract and a title shot opportunity at the end of the Crockett Cup. So, let's go ahead from the bottom of the bracket to the top, and let's take a look at who these teams are. So we start off with the African American Wolves, ACH and AR Fox, common staple of PWG, showing up here, and they are going to be competing against Violence is Forever, which are Dominic Garari and Kevin Koo. Both of these guys been known in the going up a little bit. I had to bring in a crowd favorite because everyone was mad at me when they weren't part of NWA to begin with. We have, of course, the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, working to try to win their actual contract back. They are coming into the tournament to try to win Crockett Cup, but also be the World Tag Team Champions again. And they are facing against two oddballs. We got the Batari, both long-running tag team members in Chikara. Going up one more, we're going to have two guys, one tag from Ring of Honor. So Silas Young and Josh Woods. Both guys I think actually would fit in really well in the NWA. Are going to be making their debut in the Crockett Cup, and they got a tough one on their hands because some fresh signings have opened up the opportunity for them to face the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows and Carl Machine Gun Anderson. That's a hard group to fight. Former multi-time IWGP tag team members, as well as World Tag League champions in 2013 in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and obviously multi-time WWE tag team champions going to be facing off against. That's a challenge. That's a real challenge there. Speaking of challenges, we have the Cross Brothers, two kind of up-and-comers that are going to be trying their hardest to fight in what does not look like a easy fight for their round one, because they're going to be facing against AEW's own Lucha Brothers, Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. Again, big names there, multi-time AAA World Tag Team Champions, Impact Tag Champions. You pretty much name a tag team championship and they pretty much had it at one point. Other team that hasn't had as many tag team champions, but it also is a crowd favorite, and I would also love to see actually win this tournament, is Warhausen, who I think have won very little as far as I know, but has won everyone's hearts. So that's, of course, Warhorse and Danhausen going to be squaring off in round 1 against a team called The Classic Connection, which is Buddy Royal and Levi Shapiro. Again, two relatively unknowns for a lot of people, but are part of our alliance. They are part of the Championship Wrestling from a Hollywood roster. And, an interesting first round for them. Either of these teams could possibly win, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Going up one more bracket, we have the Dub Boys, which is Dave McCall and Nate Carter, kind of well-known in the tri-state area, former CCW World Tag Team Champion several times, and I think I want to say they're the current Tag Team Champions. It'd be kind of interesting to see how they face off against their competitors, which will be the Private Party, obviously AEW's rising stars, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. Again, no titles really held, maybe some indie tags, but not ones I'm really familiar with. Probably the likely winners of this first round between the two, but you never know where it'll go. Leading up, we have Contra Unit, which is Joey Machete and Jacob Fatu. Also, again, part of our alliance in Major League Wrestling. I'm going to be facing off against a interesting team, kind of an older indie veteran team of the Legion of Rot, Hollow Wicked and Frightmare, both from Chikara. So again, a well-established team, a little bit older and rustier, but maybe unknown to those that would be watching NWA. It'll be an interesting one to see. And finally, we have the Dawsons. Again, also kind of formerly in NWA at some point, not in our save, but I think currently are in the NWA, so it felt right to bring them in. They have a very tough opponent here because they are going to be facing FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler, now free agents again, bringing back the old school wrestling. They are coming to the old school wrestling company. Definitely one of the favorites to potentially win, but there are a lot of teams in here that seem very well suited for the tournament. And the tournament's going to run a little bit differently because what we're going to do is we have obviously our round ones, round twos, semis, and our finals. And what we're going to do is we are going to actually allow some viewer input into the outcome of some of these matches. So what we're going to do is we're going to do for the round twos. So after the initial ones, I'm going to be posting up the 4 bouts of the 8 competitors remaining on my official Discord channel, which you can find a link in the description. It'll be on the TEW 2020 channel on my page, and we'll put this up before we run these out, and we'll do probably like a week's worth. What we're going to do is we're going to have everyone kind of vote for who they want to win, and those votes will count. So there's a huge upset potential. So if those Rock and Roll Express guys really, if they make it to round 2, if you guys really want them, we can have them. But we're going to do every other. So essentially, round 1 are going to be my picks. Round 2, you guys in my official Discord will have a chance to make a decision on who goes forward. Then the semifinals, I'm going to pick out of the remaining 4 who I want to get to the finals. And then finally, in the finals, again, we'll do the Discord vote. And the Discord will get to pick who gets a contract out of these 16 and a title opportunity for the NWA Tag Team Champion. I think it'll be a kind of a fun way to, one, get you guys into the Discord, get you part of the community, and get you hanging out in there, because definitely need some more faces in there. It's pretty fun, pretty chill place if you guys just want to chat about wrestling, about gaming, anything else. Pretty much no rules, just come in, hang out, have a good time. And also, I just love having some interesting ways to have user experiences and commenters kind of being able to dictate how the game goes. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to do our first tournament together and really kind of come up with the outcome ourselves all together as kind of one big group. So that is it for me today. That is the focus going forward for the Crockett Cup. We have it all in line, ready to go right in that tournament bracket. So it's just going to be a matter of running those matches, letting it go through, and obviously once we get through round one, getting your votes in the Discord. Again, make sure you click on that official Discord link right in the comments and get joining, get discussing, and start picking your favorites to win. Thank you guys for joining me. I will see you next time for another episode of Billy Corgan's NWA.